Today we are going to visit Mars, and we're not just going to visit it, we are going to terraform it. We are going to make this place our home, because we haven't destroyed enough planets. So let's start with Mars. We haven't built up enough planets, so now we're going to build up Mars and make this a beautiful, beautiful home. We will plant huge forests, we will have water flowing, we will build huge cities if we play our cards right. In this video I will show you how to set up this beautiful, well-made game, and I will also show you how to play it. So let's have a look at it. So this here is the setup of the gaming area. In the center we have the big board, with Mars in the middle. And this is the side of Mars that we will be terraforming. Here you can see a bunch of different squares. This is where we will build our cities and forests, but also water. But water can only be placed on the blue spots on the board. Next we need to place out 3 of these white cubes. One at number 1 on the terraforming ranking track. I will call this track the TR track from now on, because it's just more easy. Then we need to place the next white cube on 0 on the oxygen track. This is the track that shows how much oxygen we have on planet Mars. Lastly, we have the temperature meter. The white cube here should be placed at -30 degrees. We need to place 9 water tiles on spot 9 next to planet Mars. Lastly, each player takes 1 of their player tokens and put it on number 20 on the TR track. Next, we need to set up our player board. This board here is where you manage all of your resources. This up here and down here is where you keep the resource tokens that you have earned. Here is your production meter, meaning how much you will produce during the production phase. This one here is mega credits, and that is the money in this game. Here we have steel, over here we have titan, down here we have plants, energy, and lastly heat. So every time you gain a new resource, you place them in these spots. But every time you raise your production, you will move these cubes around. At the start of the game, all the players starts at number 1 on the production tracks, placing their cubes on number 1. Next, we need to deal out some company cards. If this is your first game, you should start with a starting company. These are the basic companies that are good for new players. If you are a more advanced player, you should start with the real companies. And you should deal out 2 of these company cards to each player. And then they need to choose one that they would like to play with. Next, we need to deal out 10 project cards to each player. If this is your first game, you get to keep all 10 cards. But if you are a more advanced player, you need to choose the cards you would like to play. But for every card you would like to keep, you need to pay 3 mega credits. These money will be drawn from your starting money that you get on your company. If we look at your company card, we can see that at the start of your game, you will start with 10 titans, meaning 10 of this resource, but also 23 mega credits. What we see over here is an effect that this company gives you every generation, and you can use this once per generation. A generation in this game is basically a round. When we know which company we want to play as, we present it for the rest of the players. And then we also tell them how many cards we would like to keep if we are advanced players. Remember, the new ones gets 10 for free. This player here chooses to keep 10 project cards, meaning that they need to lower their amount by 18. Each card will cost you 3 mega credits, remember? 3 times 6 equals 18. So instead of this player starting with 23, they will now start with 5 mega credits. A copper token represents 1 of any of the 6 resources. A silver represents 5 and a gold represents 10. Meaning that in this case here, the player simply takes 1 silver cube and puts in their mega credit storage. But they also start with 10 Titan, remember? So now we put a cube worth 10 on the Titan storage. The cards that the advanced players did not choose during their start is placed face down in the discard pile, because we don't want the other players to know which cards we did not choose. The player that recently won a game of Terraforming Mars gets the first player token. If you have never played, well then I guess you do it at random. As you might imagine, Terraforming Mars takes ages. I mean, the first generation that comes up there will never see the finished result. Maybe their children's children might see the result of it. It takes a long time. And that is why Terraforming Mars, it's played out during generations. So when you start the game, your grandchildren will not know. No, one round is called one generation. And during one round, players will take actions. And they will take 1 or 2 of the 7 available actions. Once they have done their action, the turn goes on to the player on the left, and so on. Once you don't want to do anything else, or really can't do anything else that will benefit you, you need to pass, meaning that you do nothing at all. Once all players around the table have passed, then we start a new generation. Each generation is played out during 4 different phases. The first 2 of them you do not do when you have just set up the game, because you have already done it. But let's say that we have not. In that case, we would have to do phase number 1, which is simply to pass the first player marker to the player on your left. Now we go into phase number 2. This is research. During the research phase, each player draws 4 cards from the face down project pile. When you have picked the 4 cards, you have some choices, because now you can buy these cards for 3 mega credits. And you can have any amount of cards on your hand as you wish. It's all up to you, there is no limit. So if you want to buy all of these 4 cards, well, go ahead and buy all 4 cards. But you have to pay 3 credits per card. So if you do not have that amount of credits in front of you, well, then you can't buy the cards. It's as simple as that. And if you do not wish to buy any of the cards, well, then you do not need to buy any of the cards. Once you have decided which cards you want to buy and which cards you want to throw away, you put the cards that you want to throw away in the discard pile next to the project card pile. Again, face down. So that was the first 2 steps of a generation. And again, we do not do those 2 steps during our first generation, because we already done them during setup. So now we go into phase number 3. And this is where you get to play cards from your hand or use any cards that you have on the table in front of you, because this is the action step. And this is where you need to make sure that you can actually do the action that stands on the card before you do them, and then do whatever the card says. But you can only do 1 or 2 actions during your turn. And if you choose to do none, then you have passed, and you get to do 0 actions in the upcoming turns. Remember, when everyone have passed, that's when we move on to phase number 4 of a generation, and then it will first become your time to do actions again during the next generation. But what can you actually do during this step? Well, you can do quite a lot. There is 7 different actions that you can do. And one of the huge ones is to play cards. So here we have some of the different cards that you might be able to play during your game. Before you play a card, you need to make sure that you can refill the demands of that card. And you also need to be able to do whatever the card says that you need to do. Down here you have a text. Here you can also see the demands that you need to fill once more. For example, this card here You need to have a Titan production. If you do not have a Titan production on your player board, well then you cannot play this card. This one here, for example, says that oxygen on planet Mars needs to be 9% or lower to be able to play this card. When you have made sure that you are able to play the cards because you are fulfilling the demands, you need to pay to be able to play that card. And you can see the cost in the top left corner. Now you need to do whatever the card says you need to do. On this card here, for example, it says that you need to lower the Titan production of another player. Whenever a card has the red edges around itself or around a symbol, it refers to another player. And when there is no border around the symbol or the card itself, it refers to you. So here we first need to lower the Titan production of another player. And then we need to raise our production by 1 step. But if we look over here on the asteroid, for example, that has the red edge around the card, we can see that first we need to raise the temperature 1 step. Then we will receive 2 Titans in our warehouse, and then we need to remove 3 plants from another player. But on these cards here, you can choose. You do not need to take away all 3. You could take away 1 or 2 or none if you don't want to. But all the actions where there is a brown background like these 4 here is required that you do them. Meaning that on this card here you cannot choose not to remove a Titan production from another player. Here you would need to do it. But on this one over here there is no brown background. So here you get to choose. Depending on which card you have played, you will save them in different ways. The red cards are a one-time effect. This means that they simply happen one time and then they are done. These should be collected face down next to your player area. The green cards are placed face up, above each other, so you can see the different tags in the top right corner. These cards are done and they are used, but some of the other cards in the future might require you to use these tags again, which is why you need to see them. And lastly we have the blue cards. They will have active effects that you can use once per generation. But they might also have other effects that you can use in the future. Again, you need to place them on top of each other so you can see the top part of the card. Now, some of these cards here will also let you place out some tiles out on the map itself. This can be cities, this can be water tiles or forest tiles. But when you place them, you need to follow a few rules. If you place out an ocean tile, you need to place them on any of the blue spaces out on the board. The ocean tiles are not owned by any player, but when you place one of the tiles, you get to raise your TR by 1. When you place another tile next to an ocean tile in future rounds, you will get 2 mega credits. And when you place a forest tile, for example, you need to place it next to any of your previously placed tiles. But if there is none, you can choose to place it anywhere you would like to. Just remember to place your little player token on the forest tile so you remember that this one is yours at the end of the game. When you have placed a forest tile, you get to raise the oxygen level by 1. And also get 1 more TR. At the end of the game, you will get 1 victory point for each forest tile that you have placed. When placing out a city tile, you do not get to place it out next to any previously placed city. They need to be either next to water or forest. Again, place your little cube on the city so you know that this is your city at the end of the game. Because at the end of the game, you will get 1 victory point for each forest tile that is next to your city. And it does not have to be your forest tile. Out on the planet you will also find squares with different symbols on them. Whenever you cover any of these symbols, you will get the resources or project cards of that symbol. So that was how you played cards from your hand to the table, or either face down, well, also on the table, but you can't use them anymore. Some of these cards will also have victory points on them that you can get victory points for at the end of the game. Again, that is why it's quite important to just have a track of what is going on the table in front of you. Because some of these cards, like I said, will refer to some of the tags up in the right corner of the cards on your table. So if you don't have a little check on what you can or cannot do, well, you might confuse yourself and do some errors. But besides the cards that we have on the hand, we also have some actions that we can do out on the board. Let's start by taking a look at the standard projects. There are 6 different standard projects that you can choose to do during your turn. The first one is to trash a card from your hand and get as many mega credits as cards you throw away. Meaning that if you throw away 1 card, you will get 1 mega credit. You can choose to pay 11 mega credits to raise your energy production by 1. Or you can choose to pay 14 credits to raise the temperature on Mars by 1 by sending an asteroid. But if you do this, you also raise your TR by 1. Or pay 18 credits to place an ocean tile. This will also give you 1 TR and possibly some bonuses, but I will show you this in a bit. The next one, which will allow you to pay 23 mega credits to place 1 forest tile. Again, you raise your TR by 1 and you might get some bonuses. Lastly, we get to pay 25 mega credits to place 1 city, but also raise your money production by 1. When you place your city out on the map, you should play one of your player tokens on them to show that this is your city. And then we also have milestones. If you have done what it takes to reach these milestones, you can pay 8 credits to take that milestone. Now, there can only be a maximum of 3 milestones taken throughout the game, so you need to hurry, mate. And 1 player can only be on each of the different milestones, meaning that 2 players cannot share milestones. But what do you need to reach to be able to claim these milestones? To claim the Terraformer, you need to have a TR ranking of 35 or more. To become the mayor, you need to have placed at least 3 cities. To become the farmer, you have to have placed at least 3 forest tiles. And to become the build lord, you have to have at least 8 build tags in game. And to become a planner, you need to have at least 16 cards on your hand when you claim this milestone. If you have fulfilled the requirements, you simply pay the amount needed to pay, and then you place your little token on the spot you want to claim. Lastly, you can choose to finance a competition. Here, the first competition would cost 8 mega credits, the second one would cost 14, and the third one would cost 20. If you choose to finance any of these competitions, well then you can win it. But another player can win the competition as well. Whoever managed to complete any of the finance competition first get to take their little player cube and put it on the competition that they have completed. Only 3 competitions may be financed during 1 game. At the end of the game, the winner of the competition would get 5 victory points, and whoever is second would get 2 victory points. Except in a 2-player game. Here, the uprunner would get nothing. But what are the different competitions about? Well, the landowner is whoever have most tiles in the game. The banker is the one with the highest money production. The scientist is the one that has most scientist tags in the game. The thermotechniker is the one that has most heat resources on their heat account. And the mine owner is whoever have the most steel and titan resources on their player board. And then we can also do any actions that we have on the blue cards or on our company cards, remember, because there was an action there as well. But you can only do these actions once per generation. To do this, you simply pay anything that is needed to pay to be able to do the action, and then you take your little token and place on the action that you would like to do. Then you get the benefits. At the end of the game, we will clear this up, so during the next generation, you can use that action again. Or you could choose to pay 8 of your plant resources here to place a forest tile out on the board. Again, raising the oxygen level by 1 and giving you 1 more TR as well. But of course you will lose your little plants here, but it's for the better, right? And lastly, you can choose to take 8 of your little heat resources here to raise the temperature by 1 and giving you, that's right, you guessed it, 1 TR. Out on the different parameters, we also have some symbols next to them. These are bonuses that you will get when you reach that level. Here you will get 1 more heat resource. Here you would get to place an ocean tile. And here you would get to raise the temperature by 1. That was the first 3 phases of the game, and as you can imagine, the third phase is the one that will take the longest time, but it's also there with the game progress. We get to build, we get to play card, we get resources, we evolve our little company here, and we take it to the next level. Once we have done phase number 3, we of course come into phase number 4. This is the production phase, and it's kind of like a little cleanup phase. This phase is played out simultaneously, meaning that all players do this by themselves at the same time. First, we need to turn all our leftover energy into heat. Then we need to take a look at all our production meters and fill up our different warehouses with that amount. Meaning that in this case here, this player would get 10 mega credits. Then they would get 1 steel, 2 titan, 1 plant, 2 energy, and lastly 1 heat. But on the money you will actually get a little bonus as well, because here you will also get as much money as you have TR ranking. When we have gone through the 4 different phases, we are ready to start a new generation and go again. We will do this by simply moving this white little cube here up 1 step to show how many generations we have gone through. And then we start with phase 1 again. This is the way the game keeps on going until the 3 global parameters have been reached. Meaning that we have a maximum temperature, we have emptied all the ocean tiles, and the oxygen is at its max level. When we have reached the 3 global parameters, the game ends, and it's time for us to calculate some scores. If we have completed any milestones, we would get 5 points. If we have completed any competitions, we would get 5 points if we are the first to do it, and second would get 2 points. And then we need to calculate the tiles out on the board. Each forest tile will give the owner 1 victory point. Each player that has a city with forest next to them will get 1 victory point per tile next to their city. Meaning that this player here would get 4 points. But this city over here would get 3 points instead. And lastly, we need to go through our cards to see if we have any victory points from cards, but also from the red ones that we have placed face down. These will also give you victory points. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game is the eternal glory winner of Mars, not Earth. And that, my friend, is how you terraform Mars. Or at least you try to. And we can't do more than try, right? We can only do our best. Hope that it will work out for the best, and hope that Mars will become a flourishing, green, beautiful planet for all future generations to come. I really like this game. I have gone all in on this game, which I usually don't do. This is not the original box. This is a part of the big box that you know, where you have the little 3D printed terrain here. That is not a part of the base game. In the base game you get the board and you get some tiles, but I really wanted to show you the big picture here of what you actually can get for this game. Try it out. Try out the base game first if you want to. If you really like it, well, why not, right? There will be links down in the description for everything you need to know if you want to know more about the game, that is. If you like my video, if you like what I'm doing here, if you just want to support me, or hell, if you just want to say hi to me, throw in a comment, throw in a thumbs up, do whatever you want to, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, my friend, do not forget to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace out.